Hi, my name is Mike. Today we had the opportunity to speak with Mike Schreiner. Mike is the MPP from Guelph, and he's the leader of the Ontario Green Party. Mike stopped into the Grace Café and the Annex to get a tour and to hear a little bit about our story, and also to talk about housing and some of the other things that are affecting Ontarians today. Now, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to support us, and if you like what you see, hit the like button as well. Thanks for being with us on this journey. So I'm here today with Mike Schreiner, who is the MPP from Guelph and is the leader of the Ontario Green Party. Thanks for coming today.
Hey, Mike, it's my pleasure, and thanks for what a great tour and the great work you're doing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great. We do love to show people around just about as much as we like to feed people. So it's cool you're here. So what brings you to St. Thomas today?
I'm traveling around Ontario right now. We have a bit of a break from Queen's Park, and I'm just taking the opportunity to listen, learn, because I want to have a stronger voice when I return.
Okay.
And a big issue for me, and I think for the province, is the fact that people are struggling to be able to afford life right now. Put a
Absolutely.
roof over their head, put food on the table. I mean, the fact that a quarter of Ontarians are going to food banks just to be able to feed their families, and I think we got to find the solutions to fix this.
Absolutely.
And so I'm looking at places like what you're doing here in St. Thomas. We're going to be not only looking at what you're doing, but also looking at some affordable housing projects here in town.
Excellent.
And I'm going to keep advocating for solutions to putting a roof over people's head and food on their tables.
Fabulous. So you are a multiple career man, multiple degrees, and what led you to get into politics? Because you didn't necessarily start out at a young age being a politician.
Yeah, well, I've always been interested in politics.
Okay.
And the reason I got involved in electoral politics
Okay.
is to make a difference in my community, improve people's lives, make the world a better place. I chose the Green Party because the three issues I care the most about, climate and environment crisis, just inequality and just making life affordable for people, and strengthening our democracy, I felt were uh, policy areas, values that really ring true and
Okay.
motivate the Ontario Green Party. And I also have a background as a small business owner and entrepreneur. And I thought, what the heck? Creating a fourth party in Ontario and seeing if we can grow. It's kind of like being an entrepreneur.
Sure.
But when I say I've always been interested in politics, I feel like the businesses I started were about politics.
Okay.
The nonprofit organizations I've helped start have all been about politics, because at the end of the day, I don't think politics is just getting people elected. That's a part of it. I think politics is about how do we make the world a better place? How do we serve people in our community? And how do we improve people's lives? And there are multiple ways you can do that. You can do that as an elected politician. You can do it as a small business owner. You can do it running a nonprofit organization, or as a teacher, a nurse, pastor. Like, there are many ways that you can be involved in politics.
So it sounds like for you, politics is kind of a return to the old public servant term, which seems to have been kind of lost in the weeds somewhere these days. So that's pretty awesome. So in serving the people of Guelph, what are some of the major issues that you're seeing right now that and maybe some of the unique issues that you're seeing in Guelph?
You know what? I think what we're seeing in Guelph is what we're seeing everywhere.
Okay.
Lots of people struggling to put a roof over their head and put food on the table. And, you have a whole generation of young people wondering if they'll ever own a home.
Mm-hmm.
You have a whole group of people wondering how they're going to pay the rent. There is no place in Ontario where a full-time minimum wage worker can afford average monthly rent. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Nowhere in Ontario.
Yeah.
And then we have an unprecedented number of people, 81,000 people in Ontario unhoused right now. I mean, it's just unheard of.
Yep.
And we have to fix this. And so one of my big motivations of what I've been doing in Guelph is trying to put a roof over people's heads. We've been very successful. And I got to give a shout out to Minister Flack, your MPP, who worked with me and helped us secure funding for permanent supportive housing in Guelph with wraparound mental health and addiction supports, similar to the Inwell projects that you have here in St. Thomas. And, we've successfully moved people out of tents into housing, put 24/7 mental health and addictions and other supports and services around them. And you know what? You start having people who, no more encounters with police department. no more emergency department visits, no more overdoses. Like, we have solutions to a lot of these challenges, and we just need to have the political will, the caring communities, and the money to be able to fund those solutions. And so I'm in St. Thomas today to learn about some of the things that you're doing here that I can take back to Guelph, and we can learn from and do better in Guelph. But also, as I travel around other communities, I was just in Owen Sound the other day. Very similar conversations to what we're having today.
Yeah.
Same challenges, and just looking at some of the ways in which organizations there are delivering solutions. And I learn a little bit everywhere I go. And I want to apply that in my own community, but I also want to go back to Queen's Park and talk about it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like you want to make sure that the money goes into the right places, because it could save us money if we put money in the right place, as opposed to drawing it from other places, like having people housed rather than doing emergency room visits and police visits and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, quick example.
Yep.
So sometimes I hear people say, when they get a little frustrated with people experiencing homelessness, just throw them in jail. Well, we can put 3 people into permanent supportive housing with wraparound mental health and addiction supports for every 1 person you throw in jail, because it is far cheaper, much more humane, and more effective, because it actually provides a solution for people.
No doubt.
And it benefits the folks who may be a little upset, like the local business owner, who's upset about, somebody being unhoused in our downtown, for example. So everyone wins.
Yeah.
And or the fact that most of our hospitals are overcrowded and underfunded and struggling to flow people through their emergency departments. Well, what if we have fewer people who go to those emergency departments, because we actually take care of people?
Yeah, sounds
And
like a
I
good
actually think most Ontarians really care about their neighbors.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's reflected in government policy right now. So I sometimes say we have a crisis of caring in this province, but it's not from people.
Yeah.
And I see that. Just met some of your volunteers today, and those folks all obviously care. You obviously care.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people here who obviously care.
Yeah.
And I think we need to empower those folks, and we need to properly fund those folks so they can do the good work that they want to do.
That's awesome. So, on a personal note, you mentioned some of the strategies that you're taking in Guelph. So, throughout Ontario, when and really, I guess throughout Canada, when we put the whole housing first structure into place decade and a half ago, one of the biggest things that they use is called the by names list as a way of deciding how to prioritize housing. So just on a personal note, do you know how big the by names list is in Guelph at this point in time? Or
yeah, I think it's around 150 people.
150
it
people?
was higher than that, and
Yeah.
we've been pretty successful. We've built quite a bit of permanent supportive housing in
Okay.
Guelph.
Yeah.
But we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah.
And pre-pandemic, the amount of housing we've actually built in Guelph, we probably would have eliminated homelessness in Guelph.
Yeah.
But the problem is just the affordability crisis we've been experiencing, particularly coming out of the pandemic, is just, the problems exploded everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more we need to do.
So that 150, are those folks that are actually sleeping rough, or are those folks that are sleeping rough and precariously housed?
A bit of both.
A bit of
a
both,
lot
yeah.
of people sleeping rough.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, one of the things I love about Guelph is we have a lot of walking trails along our rivers.
Yeah.
In Guelph, and I spend a lot of time walking those trails, and there's a lot of people sleeping rough in the trees. And I think most of those folks want to be housed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they need the mental health and addiction supports. And as you know, the wait times to access addiction services or mental health services are really long.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so a lot of those folks aren't getting the help in the healthcare.
Yeah.
Like, it's healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not getting the healthcare they need.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I am glad that you've come to St. Thomas, because I am kind of proud. And when I go to different cities, I do talk about some of the work on getting housing that's been innovative in St. Thomas. So, but it sounds like you guys are really headed in a pretty good direction in Guelph too.
We are. One of the things that I'm really proud of in Guelph is we've had private sector companies. We have a major developer in Guelph who donated $6 million worth of land for a permanent supportive housing project, as well as their expertise in helping get it built. We've had a number of social service agencies and healthcare organizations all come together, work together. We have all three levels of government working together, and all of us kind of represent different political parties. And I think it's an example of how, if you can take the private sector, the nonprofit sector, social service sector, community foundations, all three levels of government all working together, you can actually start delivering solutions that really work for people.
Yeah, that's excellent. So one of the things that we've struggled with in St. Thomas, and with one of the reasons that this outreach, the Annex, exists, is because of the ongoing opioid crisis and the crisis in drug addiction in general in St. Thomas and really in Ontario. So it's a pretty complex problem. So, what would your priorities be to try to address this, as opposed to simply maintaining the status quo?
Yeah, so sometimes I call it humane, compassionate intervention
Mm-hmm.
to get the help that people need.
Sure.
And sometimes they don't always realize they need the help.
Right.
But to make sure that when somebody is ready,
Yeah.
like to me, this is what is so critically important.
Right.
When somebody's ready to get help, if you don't have the help available to them, you miss the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's critically important. And I think the thing we've learned in Guelph, and I think if you look at best practices around the world,
Mm-hmm.
is taking a housing first approach where, get somebody housed, have 24/7 wraparound mental health and addiction supports available, get their lives stabilized.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get people on a path of recovery.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so important, because it's hard for somebody to get access to mental health addiction supports or to get a job. The Premier always says get a job.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty hard to get a job if you don't have an address
Yeah, that's right.
and you don't have your life stabilized.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the first step that's so important.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one of the, as we talked earlier, the people that come to the Grace Cafe, the majority actually are not unhoused. They're
That's
not
right.
sleeping
Yeah.
rough, but a lot of them will never be fixed. Right? They're not going to be, quote, fixed. They're not going to be able to get full-time jobs. They're not going to be able to necessarily support themselves. Now they're struggling in order to just feed themselves and maintain their housing. It's just not, the money isn't meeting up. So how would you deal with this affordability crisis and this fact that people just don't have enough food to go with their lives?
Mike, before I answer that, can I just say one thing that I loved about our walk through Grace Cafe?
Yeah.
Is the commitment to community that exists in that place and clearly exists with you and the volunteers and the people you serve.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one thing that's really missing in our society right now. Like, I feel like I don't know if it's the decline in, faith-based groups or sports activities or, I don't know, just hangouts for people. But I feel like it doesn't matter what your income is, people of all income levels.
Yeah.
We've really kind of lost those community connections. And one of the beautiful things I saw next door was just you're creating a space for that. And I think that's really important, regardless of your income.
Yeah.
Now
very enjoyable, I got to tell you. It's
good. Yeah. Now to your income issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, first of all, social assistance rates in Ontario basically are legislated poverty.
Yeah.
Somebody on Ontario work trying to survive on $731 a month, like, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I don't care how thrifty you are, how smart you are, how, you can't live on $730 a month. You just can't.
Right.
And for somebody on Ontario Disability Support, $1,300 a month, you can't live on that either.
That's
the
right.
average monthly rent in most places in Ontario is close to $2,000.
Yeah.
So that math doesn't add up. So I think we need to end legislated poverty by, at the very least, doubling social assistance rates and just giving people some dignity.
Yeah.
And I think we care about each other enough that we want people to live in dignity, and
Right.
and so that's an important start. Addressing the cost of housing is also critically important. And so, we need rent stabilization funding. We need to protect tenants. We need to build more purpose-built rental. We need to have the provincial government get back into building deeply affordable nonprofit co-op social and supportive housing.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know this. 93% of the deeply affordable homes built in the province of Ontario were built before 1995.
Wow.
So what
That's a
happened in
huge stat.
1995? The
Yeah.
federal and provincial government stopped funding nonprofit co-op social housing.
Mhm.
And we need to get back into doing that, because I can tell you, every developer I talk to, I don't care how big of a heart they have, they just can't afford to build that kind of housing
It's
because
true.
they can't afford to lose money.
Yeah.
And you can't ask them to lose money because they're not going
Yeah.
to stay in business for very long, are
That's
they?
true. That's
And
true.
so we need government. There was a time in Canada where 20,000 housing starts a year were government funded,
Mhm.
deeply affordable housing, and we don't need government doesn't have to build it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of nonprofits. We have a lot of co-ops. We have a lot of folks out there, like Endwell's a great example, who do this work. So let's provide them with the funding so we can have that deeply affordable housing. So people don't have to choose between paying the rent and putting food on the table. And as you know, most people have to choose rent
Mhm. That's right.
because otherwise they're out on the street. But when they make that choice, oftentimes they don't have enough money to pay for food.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
the fact that, this is the wealthiest province and one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
Yeah.
And we have the number of people accessing food banks that we have now at record levels. Millions of people in Ontario are having to go to food banks just to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And that's just not right. That's
Yeah.
not right. And a lot of that's being driven by the cost of housing.
Yeah.
Housing has just become so unaffordable. So we have to get housing under control.
Yeah.
And then finally, I'd say, we have to make sure our minimum wages are high enough that,
Yeah.
if you are a full-time worker, you can actually pay the rent
Mhm.
and put food on the table.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're an advocate of government-private partnerships in order to try to reach it. What do you see as the advantage when it comes to not simply being government-led or whatever? What's the advantage of those those partnerships that you're talking about?
Well, I think a lot of nonprofit organizations, community-based, faith-based organizations do amazing work, have volunteers or even paid staff that go above and beyond the call of duty because they deeply, deeply care about their community, the people they serve, making their neighborhood a better place to live, et cetera, et cetera. And I think if government provides the funding for those organizations
Mhm.
to do the good work they do, we can improve life,
Mhm.
and we can do it in a way that is cost effective.
Yeah.
And to me, those are good investments.
Excellent.
And so, some people think government should do everything, and I'm not supportive of that. And some people think government should get out of the way, and I don't support that either.
Yeah.
I think, what is government in a democracy? Government's all of us coming together,
Yeah.
paying some taxes.
Yeah.
So then we pool our money and we can buy things that at a cheaper price than if we bought them ourselves.
Yeah.
And what are those things? Healthcare, affordable housing, education, supporting our neighbors. All of that improves life for everybody in our community,
Yeah.
regardless of your income.
Yeah.
And so I think when we take care of our most vulnerable
Mhm.
in our neighborhoods, it improves life for everybody in our neighborhood.
Excellent. Sounds like you're a man of the people, as it were.
I don't know.
Use the old term, right?
There you go. There you go.
So what's the question I haven't asked you? What's the thing that you think, especially here at the Grace Cafe and here in St. Thomas, what's the thing that we need to hear from you? What would you like to relate to us?
The question I have, and this is for our whole society.
Mhm.
So how do we take the caring community spirit
Mhm.
that exists in that cafe, and how do we broaden it out to our whole society,
Mhm.
in all parts of our society? And I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah.
If I did, maybe we'd live in a better world.
Yeah.
But I fundamentally believe the people of this province have a big heart.
Yeah.
And they care about each other, and they care about their community. They care about their neighbors. And for whatever reason, I don't see that translated into government policy right now.
Right.
And so one of the things that makes it important for me to travel around and visit communities like St. Thomas and the good work that you're doing here is to take those examples and those stories, those experiences, those people I meet, and bring that to Queen's Park to try to shift government policy in a way that builds a more caring Ontario.
Nice. So I would encourage you that I do know a little bit about how we can get there. And what it requires is leadership. It requires people like Jenny did who say, I see this, I'm going to go do this. You can come with me if you want, which is kind of what it sounds like you're doing at Queen's Park is, I see these issues. I'm going to provide leadership going in a direction and hopefully people will get there. So that's what it requires is people that are simply willing to begin to roll up their sleeves and then other folks will be willing to follow and willing to go. So I want to commend you on that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And just tell Jenny that she's doing politics.
I think I will let Don tell her that because she might not be too happy with me if I told her that. So, and he's got to live with her, so we'll let him do that.
Okay.
So, listen, I want to thank you for coming by today, and I want to thank you for the encouraging words, but also the encouraging words about what you're doing politically in Ontario. A lot of times, politicians get a bad name, not always for the right reasons and not always fairly. And so it's great to be able to talk to you today and to hear that people of Ontario do matter to you and to your party.
Well, if I could close on one thing, Mike, I
Please
appreciate
do.
that. Very nice.
Please do.
I look what's happening south of the border right now, where it seems like politics, at least at the top, is all about power and exerting power.
Yeah.
And I think it's more powerful to make politics about service.
Excellent.
And that's what you're doing here, and that's what I'm trying to do at Queen's Park.
That's great. Well, hopefully we'll continue to work together.
100%.